G'day and welcome to Inforunners. I'm Execute. Today I'm joined by Tecton and John. It's all backwards. If you know how, when you're pointing, it's backwards. Anyway, so yeah, we've got John Citizen and Tecton. So John is a really good miner and Tecton is a geologist. And I thought I'd bring those guys in and we're going to have a chat about the Expanse, the new refinery ship, because obviously the refining is very closely linked with the prospector and mining itself. So John is really good at mining. John, do you want to tell people how you and I met, John?
Well, basically, I was in the Australian server selling stuff because it was very quiet and it's easier to sell. You said hello in chat. I said hi back and we started talking and the romance blossomed since then.
Yeah, and you've ended up going into Space Tomatoes org, and I know I met Tecton because I went looking for a geologist, so that's how I met Tecton as well. So how are you today, Tecton?
I'm doing pretty good. You guys?
Yeah, I'm doing well, thanks. So yeah, we're going to have a look into the Expanse. We've got a couple of pictures that they released. Obviously, they talked about it on ISC. We've gone through it with a few people in different groups, and basically we're going to share with what you've got today. But yeah, John, do you want to give me your initial impression, or what do you think of the Expanse, besides the terrible name?
Well, yeah, I don't think it's a terrible name because I think it was an absolutely excellent series. But just because they stole it from there is besides the point.
I thought you would have saved it for a ship that expanded though and went out. But you know, I know the saddlebags expand, but it's not quite the same. So anyway, sorry, you were saying.
I think it's going to be very helpful with a mining crew because that's basically my forte, as you know, and I'm trying to turn my phone down while I'm talking to you, so nobody rings me. And 2 or 3 prospectors out mining. I'm out there with them, or somebody else is using the ship. The prospectors don't have to leave the belt or whichever Livia I normally mine on. They don't have to leave. They can carry on. You can refine it. Either have one of the hull series there so they can take the stuff off you once you've refined it. You can stay there and you can have a full day mining without actually leaving
the belt.
A decent spot.
What about you, Tecton? What's your initial impressions of the Expanse?
Well, first I have to defend the name. The Crucible was taken. I'm sorry. They couldn't go with the best name. They just had to find something. Now, back when it comes to my actual thought process on this ship, it seems amazing and it points more towards the more terrestrial-based mining, in my opinion, than the asteroid because, well, we have the Orion. Most of us don't really worry about asteroids past that. But when it comes to ground-based, how much gas and hydrogen it takes to leave Atmo, come back, leave Atmo, come back, this saves so much time.
So I've got I'm just opening the browser right now and flicking to a particular picture that I wanted to show. What were you talking about? You were talking about the I've totally brain farted. You were talking about something in particular. Just keep talking about what you were talking about, man.
I was mostly talking about ground mining on...
Oh, the ground mining. That's right. Yep.
Yeah.
So what I wanted to show was it looks like there actually is a VTOL on this, on here on the sides of the ships, and you can see it. It looks like they actually kind of fold down. Could be completely wrong there, but that's kind of what they look like to a lot of us. So they probably fold down and yeah, give you a VTOL because yeah. Continue what you were saying about ground mining.
Oh no, it was mostly just that this would save us on hydrogen fuel, it would save us on time, and allow us to do our refining at location, just like John was saying.
Yeah. So I guess we'll go through. So my impression of it is that it is definitely going to change up the gameplay, but I do think there are some strengths and drawbacks. And the strengths are like what John said, that it's going to allow you to go out all day with prospectors and mine. But the thing that we've found through looking at this, and I'm sure there's other people that have come to the same conclusions, that this ship is very much locked to the prospector. And one of the big takeaways for me was when you look at the Q&A for the actual Prospector itself, the saddlebags on the Prospector and the mold, they're different sizes. So that basically means that you can probably take content out of a mold bag. So you can kind of still do that, but I think it really is really kind of designed for the Prospector, and it uses the same bags as the Prospector from what we can tell for refilling them back into the refined ore. So those runs down the side. Now, there are some people that think it could be the other way as well, but the most common sense thing from what I've heard is that they basically are taken in at the back. There's some kind of upside down nozzle to the Starfarer, and so basically they're taken in via the back and then they're exported out by the side from the refineries, allowing you 8 different puts on the saddlebags. So yeah, that I can still see it picking up mold bags, but I think it definitely, because of the size, using the same size as the Prospector, I think that's makes it a little bit more linked to the Prospector. What do you guys think? Do you think that it is a little bit locked to the Prospector, or do you still think it's gonna be fine using different size saddlebags?
I would go, it's just locked to the Prospector at the moment. Because Prospect is MISC, this is MISC, and as you'd already said, the bags are a different size. So, yes, you might be able to hold a mold bag at the back and empty it if the nozzle would fit. Are the nozzles the same size? I don't think we know that yet, do we?
Yeah, well, again, the Starfarer only having one nozzle, you have to make the same assumption that they all operate on the same nozzle size. So, because otherwise they would have different nozzles for different saddlebags. So I think the assumption is pretty safe, knowing that we now have 2 ships that have a solo nozzle. So yeah. Tecton,
and I'm going to go the complete opposite of you guys.
Yeah.
I'm going to go that it doesn't make sense in lore for a manufacturer to say, well, I don't want it to be able to do my competition's work. It's still, I want them to buy my ship. But I mean, if they have a mole, I still want them to buy my refinery. Why would I sell them something that can't?
Yeah. So as I said, I think it can take in the bigger bags, but there's obviously that incompatibility there, because what do you then do with the bigger bag? Do you just drop it back in the space and the mole's got to sit there one at a time picking them up? And that's a lot of the questions I have today, is actually a lot around about how the bags are brought in and out and stuff like that, and how that whole collapsible system works. So yeah, there is a lot of speculation there on how that works as well. But I'm finding with a lot of the smaller starter ships, there's a lot of manual labor to them. So the analogy I'd give is like the Vulcan, Vulture, how you got to go out and blast the ship apart. The whole A doesn't have a tractor beam, so does that means the pilot has to go out and pull everything off with the tractor beam, manual tractor beam? And I think it's the same thing with this. I think a lot of those saddlebags are going to have to be manually pulled off down the sides, because there's no tractor beam. Like, there's a tractor beam to pull them off away from the Prospector. But I think they're eventually, are you just going to drop them off and they float in space and a cargo ship picks them up? We'll have to kind of wait and see how that we'll probably find that out when the Q&A finally drops. So I think the other thing that was kind of interesting, and you guys can correct me if you think I'm wrong here, but basically with what happened with the today when we're looking at the stuff, just the big disparity between the mole and the Prospector is really apparent. They are like, the mole itself is literally 3 times larger in a lot of capacities, but you're also getting the pilot and the co-pilot with that. But the you're getting the speed obviously of the lasers with that. And kind of like what you said, how John said, you said you've got the Prospector lines up with the Expanse. It kind of shows that there's a ship that's missing now from Argo as well. So what do you think about that, John? That there's another refinery ship coming that's possibly from Argo because of the mole being from Argo?
Yes, I do. I agreed with you on that earlier. But if it's a much bigger ship than the Expanse, why are people going to buy the Expanse if it will do both pods?
Yeah. Well, and that's the thing that we also talked about as well. It's obviously, if you go up a step, it's going to have more reactors and refinery modules to do more. It's just how well that scales. And we started talking about, like, does it really scale up to 24 refineries, or are they the same number of refineries, but they just have better, like, they do more quantity, or they do it faster or stuff like that. So I'm expecting there's probably going to be a ship that comes along that lines up with the Argo mole.
Will they be small? Sorry, will there be small, medium, and large refineries?
Well, that's the other thing, is it doesn't look like that's the case, because it looks like they kind of split off into liquid and gas. And that's the other thing, is this ship clearly, because it used the saddlebags, unless I'm mistaken, they're not water-based saddlebags. They look very much like they're designed for solid ores. So there probably is also a refinery ship coming for liquid and gas. And again, I don't think that that's tailored at the Prospector. So that also probably means there's another small ship coming that's tailored at liquid and gas. So a Prospector for liquid and gas, and an Expanse for liquid and gas. So that's another interesting thing as well. And does that also happen to the mole? Are we getting a mole-sized liquid and gas one as well? So there's because the only thing we've got at the moment that does liquid and gas is the Starfarer. So it's kind of interesting. Like, when you start running this through, you can start to see there's at least room for another 3 ships, just from the discussions we've had today. So what about you, Tecton? What do you feel about liquid and gas ships and a bigger refinery ship that's coming in line with the mole?
Well, I can honestly say I expect another refinery. Even if we didn't go the liquid and gas route, I expect something in the large category.
Yep.
Am I still showing up?
Yep.
Okay. Well, that's the case. When it comes to liquid and gas, we kind of got a hint about them, about land claims a while back, that there was talk of liquid and gas mining for land claims. Therefore, yeah, I expect ships for them. I don't expect they're going to be the most important ships to get out before the game continues. I don't think they're the most logical ships to get out, but eventually I would like to see them.
While we're on land claims, you finally got your question answered too, about them reconfirming on Star Citizen Live. I think it was, like, not this weekend's one, but the one before. Do you want to talk about that real briefly?
Yeah, we finally got them to reconfirm during the EUPU ISE that they will have subsurface deposits to mine. We've kind of thought these were coming for a while, but with our current mining situation in game, we weren't exactly sure what was going on.
Yeah. So you can actually see in John's photo down there, the Prospector that's actually drilling under the ground and mining underground. And so we're kind of expecting that last mining ship that's coming to be a land-based miner of some description. It also means it could probably land on asteroids and mine them as well. So yeah, that's something to look forward to. So that's a few ships that look like they're coming down the pipe. I guess I'll go through the pictures again real quickly. Let's flip back over here. So let's go through some of these pictures. I'll go right back to the first one, and we'll go from there. So the thing that you can notice here, this is the nozzle that we were talking about on the back. You can see that it basically pulls them over from the Prospector and connects to the nozzle and sucks in the ore, much like the Starfarer does. We believe that this is some kind of door at the back, and we've got doors at the side, so maybe this is where you could use your own manual tractor beam to pull these off, or they just drop off. The other thing that we're expecting as well is that when all these pods are removed, this actually all folds up and packs up nicely up against the engine. So you can kind of see how these rings pull up, and then because of the way this is like a mechanical arm, it just folds up and in and holds up against the side. We mentioned the VTOL earlier. One thing that Tecton brought up is this weird thing up here. We're not quite sure exactly what it is, but I think it might be a nozzle for refueling or transferring. We're not too sure. Because again, if you take in an ore that you can't refine into a liquid, it would then allow you to transfer that off to, say, something like the Starfarer. But that is total speculation at this point. The other thing you mentioned, Tecton, is do you want to talk about just here? You thought it was some kind of dock as well, potentially.
I'm trying to figure out what it is. It kind of looks like a bulkhead. It kind of looks like some way to attach to some other ship's airlock. We're not entirely sure what that is. It could just be design flair. I mean, it's sick.
It's definitely something though, because that's just a really unique shape. It almost looks like a mini turret of some description. It's kind of unique. But yeah, I'm half expecting it. It might need to be for transfer of some description, but I guess we'll find out in the interest of time. Hopefully they tell us that in the Q&A. The other thing we kind of picked up on here is they have mentioned it's a split level system. You can actually see here on what I believe to be the second level, there's some kind of computer terminal, and we have actually speculated this front door thing here could actually open much like on those planes where the big nose opens up. That could be possibly what happens here, but we firmly believe that this is the top level. It's got like some kind of split step down into this area here, and then a step down into this area here, and obviously this is just your entry and exit. Again, VTOL here on the side. You can actually see in the image here, though it's a little small, I'll try and make it bigger. You can actually see the 8 pods on the side, so whether you're argument input or export, I think it's exporting it out, and that's how you fill up your saddlebags on the outside. Next one, no, nothing on that one. Talked about that one, nothing special on that one. I guess you can see the. Sorry, you going to say something, Tecton?
Well, I was going to bring up a point we haven't discussed.
Yeah, sure.
Because we know Quantanium is on a timer. Now, is the wide body of that ship specifically built so when you've got Quantanium in, it's like storing your ship when you're at the station?
Well, I would just assume, John, because you can refine it, you've got more time to do it. So if you get it straight from a prospector in a saddlebag and transfer it over, you can instantly start refining it, so it just gets refined and the timer's removed. So I would have just seen that as a non-issue, but, yeah. What about you, Tecton? Do you think that's kind of what will happen with Quantanium? It'll just, because it's at the refinery, it's just neutered, so to speak?
I'm still suspecting that we get an intermediate form of Quantanium after it's refined that's solid. Because at this point, if it goes in here, because there is no way to store it after you finish refining, it's just taking up your reactor space.
Well, see, that's why I come back. That's why I kind of come back to this, because this is all solid storage, and we know Quantanium comes down to a liquid. And so what I'm wondering is does the Quantanium go into your fuel tank, or is some of this storage that's internal liquid storage? That would mean you don't actually need a liquid refinery ship. Maybe the refinery ship can do liquid and it can do solids, and this one just decides to do its solids all on the outside. That would also explain why it has potentially a fuel nozzle on it. And now I've just look at this. I was talking about those bars before. I now wonder if this somehow extends out and goes in front of the ship. That would definitely make that a fuel nozzle. Now I think about it, it makes a lot of sense.
That's what I say. The other picture actually shows those bars a little bit better.
Yeah, I'll go on to that one. So just here, you can't really see.
No, I think it's another one right from the side.
No, I don't. Well, I'll have a look, but I don't see there being one, John. But yeah, there's not real. You mean this one, John?
It could be that one. Did you scroll into that one?
I can, but not really, not very well, John. I can't. Yeah, not on the fly. Sorry, but no, there's not any. There's not really any of the bars clearer than the one from the top, John. Anyway, so long story short, yeah, there's a few little interesting tidbits on this ship, but I think things like this, like a lot of people assume that this is some form of cargo access, because there's no reason to have an elevator or a ladder when you can go straight to the ground. Why would you have a ramp? So all of a sudden having some kind of cargo access on the inside makes a lot of sense, but we'll see what develops. But other than that, we really haven't had much else that we can add to it, can we, guys? From that, is there anything you guys would like to add before we wrap it up?
Okay, I don't think so. It's still bugging me that you've got a timer on Quantanium. There's got to be something in that ship which will cancel the timer. Yeah,
you just refine it, John, and then therefore the timer's gone. It's that simple. There's nothing complex about that, John. What about you, Tecton?
That's actually why, John, I was talking about a stable form of Quantanium that you refine it into. That's what I was going after.
Yeah. So yeah, I'm the thing I'm kind of most interested in is does it have any form of liquid storage, or are they going to have liquid pods or something of that description? Because if they don't have that, that also means that there has to be another refinery, and therefore that also means there's probably another miner as well. But we'll have to kind of wait and see. Because obviously there has to be another miner for gas and liquids, because the prospector can't do, well, as we're aware at the moment, it can't do liquid or gas, but maybe it will in the future. We just don't know at this point.
Yes, that top-down picture shows it better.
Yeah.
Yeah, the two rods.
Yeah. Very interested to see what these are. I think it might actually be a fuel nozzle, but we'll wait and see. So hopefully that just shows you a little bit of the insight there, and it's also shown a few other ships that's possibly coming down the line. And yeah, we'll go from there. All right.
I think I've screwed my picture up as well.
You have screwed your picture up, and that's why we've got a picture of Piggles.
Is it screwed up or is it better?
No, John is very professional. Don't worry, he's turned his thing off somehow, so it's all good. All right, well with that, he was Tectone, and he was John Citizen, and we'll catch you guys in the next one. I hope you guys enjoyed that. All right, say goodbye.
Goodbye.
Bye, guys.
John, we can't take you anywhere. Like, this is why we can't have nice things, John. Terrible. All right.